Now synthetic metal for bearing. Press. Synthetic metal for the bearing, mostly they are proposed according to the operating condition. The general bearing metals should have the following properties: maybe good thermal conductivity, resistance to corrosion. This the same property yesterday we discussed. Strength to carry loading, shaft and sliding members without permanent deformation. Ability to operate in required temperature. Ability for drift and other filling metals to embed on surface and thus prevent sizing of the shaft or sliding member. Ability to resist wear. Ability to deform slightly from compensation minor misalignment surface. Plastic Plastic is a good resistance to corrosion, silent operation, ability to mold it in different shapes, and elimination of need for lubrication. Most commonly used type of plastic metal, that is laminated phenolics, nylon, Teflon. I think this is also we covered. Laminated phenolics consist of cotton fabric, asbestos, or other metal bounded with phenolic resin. This metal has a high strength and shock resistance property. Thermal conductivity of this metal is low, and there should be an adequate facility for cooling the bearing made out of this metal. Next metal is called nylon. Nylon, this type of bearings is called nylon bearing. This is widely used for light load application. Nylon bearings need no lubrication on itself lubricating property. So nylon bearing do not require any grease and anything. It has a lubricating property. So Teflon. Next metal is called Teflon. This is a Teflon. This is very costly metal compared to the stainless steel. Okay. This metal has a self-lubricating properties. Again, this metal has self-lubricating properties. Resistance to attack of chemicals, low coefficient friction, and can withstand a wide temperature. So they can withstand a very wide temperature also. To melt than a super. Teflon is a fire resistance. But heat lava, it's a very useful metal but costly metal. Okay. Resistance to any chemical attack. Acid Teflon gal, nothing will happen. If you use the Teflon tape, no. The Teflon tape, that's what we call it. Yeah, I know it. Will not catch fire also. If you apply on the fire, it will not get. The Teflon is a very the Teflon bearing needs a lubrication as itself self-lubricating. No, Teflon bearing needs no lubrication as itself self-lubricating properties. Methods of fitting ball bearing. No, this step you read yourself. It's practical purpose. How to remove and how to fix. There are some steps how you can remove it. This is a practical way when, but you have to write down this full procedure. You know, your book also there for your knowledge. How you can remove it. Methods of fitting roller bearing. Suppose there is a roller bearing, same procedure, but how you can see this is sleeve, check nut, how you to put this, everything they have mentioned. You take this both topic as a practical purpose. Job plan then we'll discuss the practical. Now bearing metals and lubricant. This we are discussing actually yesterday. So we have bearing metal, properties of bearing metal, least life of bearing, lubricants and properties of lubricant. See this white metal column we already discussed. Bearing metals, for example, white metal. The white metal different composition are used for variety of application. White metals either tin or lead base. Tin base white metal often referred as a Babbitt metal. Tin base it's called a Babbitt metals. And white metals bearing alloys also contain small amount of copper and antimony in the bearing proportion. So Babbitt metal is basically tin and base. White metal basically contain the small amount of copper and antimony. Then the strength of this metal decreases considerably with increased temperature. And to overcome this defects, a layer of high strength fatigue resistant material is introduced between the thin white metal layers and steel bed. Then next is cadmium based alloy. This is not there yesterday. These alloys have greater resistance to fatigue and with and white metals bearing, but have poor resistance to corrosion. So ताका कळून लागपाक चान्स आसता cadmium. What is it? These alloys usually contain small amount of nickel, copper, and silver. Bearing made out of these alloys can work at higher temperature and have higher load carrying capacity. Next, copper lead alloys. This contains copper and lead. These have higher load carrying capacity than cadmium based alloy, and the operating temperature is higher than the white metals bearing. This alloy is used in heavy duty application like main, connecting rod, bearing, and in the moderate load speed application in turbine and electric motor. Aluminum alloy may be also used as a bearing metal. Aluminum alloy, small quantity of tin, silicon, cadmium, nickel, or copper is also used as a bearing metal. Aluminum alloys contain about 20 to 30% of tin, and up to 3% copper is capable of substituting bronze bearing for certain industrial application. It is suited for the hard journal. It is necessary to give extra clearance between bearing and journal to overcome the effect of high thermal expansion. Aluminum alloys for bearing are available with special properties needed for high load carrying and strength and thermal output. So these are the purpose of putting the alloy in theory. Okay, you can read it and you can keep for your knowledge. Sinter alloy may be also used for bearing metals. Bearing metals such as the plain or lead, bronze, iron, steel, and stainless steel are also made of sintering process, providing porosity in the metal. So we can do the sinter also. Sintering process means what? There are some different metals that get mixed. It's alloy and metal. Then you have to mix that metal. Then you have to what shape? That type you have to make the compact. It's a powder metal. Okay. You have to mix that all powder. Then you have to make a tablet compact tablet. Similar way, the sintering process also say whatever the segment the side to cutting where you apply no that powder you have to make it properly, and you have to mix it with this mixture like lead, stainless steel also made of sintering. Then that compact piece after pressing the powder we will get compact. That compact you have to put it for the sintering process. Sintering means you have to give a heat treatment. Sintering like that both sides you have to make carbon and you have to pass the electricity and that metal get heated and it's getting melted inside there. And this full process called sintering means you have to give the temperature for certain temperature for whole whatever to get it desired, and then you have to pull it. Then you can break it and you can check the properties of the metal and you can see observe how this sintering alloys are made. Okay. So the sintering alloys also can be used for the bearing metals based on what type of property required. The structure bearing made by sintering process is spongy and can be absorbed and hold considerable quantity of oil. These bearings can actually use wheels of self-lubricating type. Bearing are used in situations where lubrication is difficult. This type of sintering bearing you can use where you cannot do the lubrication as per requirement schedules. It's very difficult to put the lubricant. Then you can go for this type of sinter alloy bearing. Then metal and you can use the bearing also. Means it will take care of that lubrication. Everything will be there. Babbitt metal, the tin base and lead base Babbitt are widely used as a bearing metal because they satisfy the most requirement for the general application. So this is a bearing actually, right? Tin base or lead base. The Babbitts are recommended where the maximum bearing pressure on the projected area is not over 7 to 14 Newton per mm square. And when applied in automobiles, the Babbitt is generally used as a thin layer, 0.05 mm to 0.15 mm thick, bounded to an insert or steel shed. Next, this is a bronze. Now here, this air helps to how it's look bronze. तो picture print called a bronze, it's look like golden color. Bronze kashasta. So bronze alloy of copper, tin and zinc. That's why I'm taking this class on this here. Here, if you see the picture at least, you can keep in your mind. This way. Now see, this is the bronze alloy of copper, tin and zinc are generally used in the form of machine bushes pressed into the shell. Bush. The bush may be one or two-piece. The bushes commonly used for bearing metals are gunmetal and phosphorus gun. If you remember the bush bearing, no, if you take best example of your kitchen item mixer grinder, okay, the mixer is the point. What do you call jar? They are fitting the jar into the mixer body, no. So that fan is get connected down. No? There inside that cutter, no cutting out, there is a shaft aspect, rod aspect, and that shaft is supported with this type of bush. That's a bush aspect. Can I jar or bush man will this actually bearing actually. It rotated inside. Can I bush man jar mixer repair going they're all this type of bush actually. So that is actually bearing over there. Okay, bush marrow. The bronze commonly used for the bearing metal are gun metal. So mostly a gun metal and phosphorus bar. काल तुम्हाला कितने बचे bronze आप confuse को, but they are all made of bronze only. Phosphorus bronze or gun metal bronze. Gun metal metal copper, tin and zinc. All three are coming. Okay. Phosphorus there is some phosphorus type thing is there. Cast iron. Cast iron bearing are usually used with a steel journal. Such type of bearings are fairly successful where lubricant is adequate and the pressure is limited to the 3.5 Newton per mm square and speed 40 meters per minute. So this is a cast iron. Cast iron bearing block directly you can use as a bearing because cast iron itself is a bearing metal. When you shaft it will rotate inside. So lubrication here you have to here grease point is given, here you have to do the greasing. Shaft will rotate here inside. So here take lining upward, this is bearing lining actually. Again, then you can replace this full block on cast iron. Then silver is also used sometimes for bearing metal. Silver and silver lead bearings are mostly used in aircraft engine where the fatigue strength is most important consideration. So fatigue if there is lot of fatigue force are continuously acting on the bearing, then you to mostly aircraft industry because it's flying over there, no? There is air power pressure stuff. So you have to use a silver metal for the bearing. It's very costly after. The properties of bearing metal, I already discussed it. Compressive strength, fatigue strength, comfortability, amiability, bondability. Many high capacity bearings are made by bonding one or more thin layer of the bearing metals to high strength steel shell. Bonding means it has to bond to the shaft also. Shaft gas strength of the bondability is an important consideration in the selecting the bearing metal. In corrosion resistance, we already discussed this. Thermal conductivity also discussed. Thermal expansion bearing metals should be of low coefficient of thermal expansion, low. When the bearing operates over the wide range of temperature, there is no undue change in clearance. The various metals are used in practice, for example, depending upon the requirement of the actual service condition. The choice of metal for any application must be represented in compromises. Tables show the comparison of some properties of the more common metallic bearing metal. There are some comparison given in this chart. You can really take as for reference purpose. See, tin based debit, fatigue strength poor, comfortability good, amiability excellent, anti-scoring excellent, corrosion resistance excellent, thermal conductivity poor in the tin base debit. Lead based debit poor to fair, fatigue poor to fair, comfortability okay good, embedded ability poor, anti-scoring again poor, resistance corrosion good, and thermal conductivity is fair. So this is about lead bronze. Fatigue to good poor. This is about lead based debit and lead bronze fair, strength fair, comfortability poor to usability, poor to fair means anti-corrosion also poor to fair, corrosion resistance poor, fair to good, thermal conductivity. Aluminium good, fatigue, poor to comfortability, poor for amiability, good for anti-corrosion, anti-scoring, corrosion resistant excellent, and thermal conductive fair. So silver is always fatigue strength excellent. The only silver product they in the fatigue condition is excellent. That's why the aircraft industry they are mostly use a silver metal for the bearing metal. Almost none comfortability, embeddability poor, anti-scoring poor, but corrosion resistance good and thermal conductivity is also excellent. Corrosion is excellent, not good, excellent and excellent. Silver lead deposit excellent for the static strength again. Comfortability excellent, embeddability poor, fair to good, anti-scoring and excellent, corrosion resistant, excellent to the thermal conductivity. Life of the bearing. Basically, life of the individual ball bearing may be defined as the number of revolution or hours for some given constant speed. Maybe after some rotation of that bearing they have played some wear and tear or it start giving a problem. Sound then we need to replace. So the rating of the group of apparently identical ball or roller bearing is defined as the number of revolution for hour or some given constant speed that 90% of group of bearing will complete or access before the first evidence of the fatigue failure. Term minimum life is also called to denote the rating life. Life of the bearing for various types of machine. Application of bearing, life of bearing in hours. So this is the life of the bearing, okay, in hours. You can refer it. Machine working hour, separator, compressor, pump, mine, host, naval vessel, 40,000 to 60,000 hours it will work, run. Next subtopic